3, 2, 1. You're on. You remember the question?
So, have I been targeted because of the work that I've done, because of my stance? Absolutely, I've been targeted. Absolutely, the only reason why I was in the paper is being hauled off on handcuffs and on, on network news was because they're trying to send a message to other people that, to other artists, to all artists, that, it's not cool to support this movement. It isn't cool to be public about it. The city, New York City, is intolerant of writing culture. They're sick of it. They put businesses and business development over that. And so they're trying to send a message to of course, to writers. They're trying to send a message to anybody that's involved in the art form. They're trying to send a message to people that have worked with me that we're going to make a public example of this guy. We're going to humiliate him, and there's nothing you could do about it. So yeah, I feel like I've been unfairly targeted.
Was there ever a time in your documenting of this that you knew you might in fact be at risk by storing the information, and did you just calculate the risk and know that that might happen?
I discovered that fact, or started to realize that fact in the 90s when Giuliani came into power and the law started to change. The cops got more repressive, more aggressive about how they treated artists, and I started to get worried about it. That caused me, of course, to do backups and get stuff out of my home so that I wouldn't necessarily lose my collection or my archives. But over the years, since I wasn't necessarily targeted, I didn't necessarily always believe that I would be a victim of, of a police investigation, or that my archives could be lost to the police.
Are they in fact at stake? I mean, do you know where they are, and can you get them if you need them?
I do regret having any archives in my home. I regret. Regrettably, I can possibly lose some of my archives. The police sees at least 8 albums, thousands of photographs, only historical imagery, all historical stuff that I've been purchasing and collecting and storing from the movement, from the 70s exclusively. And then they also took a good amount of my digital archives that contain, tens of thousands of photos. So it isn't police possession. It's considered to be evidence, even though it has nothing to do with my case. And of course, when police sees evidence, historically, you do not get all of it back. Even if the case is dismissed, whatever the case might be, the cops keep stuff. They don't give a shit. They lose it. And you really have no claim over it. You have a voucher, it's very unspecific, or an inventory of what you get, but you can't necessarily get everything back unless you're very, very lucky.
Did you have an insurance value on any of this?
I did not have an insurance value.
Have any archival arts organizations of any kind stepped up and said, we have your back?
No.
Who's been? None.
No art agency, with the exception of the Franklin Furnace, has approached me to lend support, and also the Hip Hop Theater Festival, which are like-minded artists. Those are the only 2 art organizations that have really stepped up to lend any kind of support or guidance or knowledge based on their past experiences. Amazingly, what I have discovered online through the posting of my story is that there's thousands and thousands of supporters out there, people who believe that what was done to me is wrong, people who believe that the criminalization of this art form is wrong, people who believe that police doing raids in people's homes are wrong, people who believe that the prosecution of artists is wrong. And I have not found many detractors. There's been 1 or 2 that say, you know what, if you do the crime, you gotta, face the time type of a situation. But that's been very, very few people who said that. Mostly it's been a very supportive, group of people out there that have respected it. And honestly, it's been very surprising and very it's been a very eye-opening thing, and I'm very happy that that's been the case.
What do you say to someone who says, as you said, he did the crime, he did the time, he knew what he was in for?
Well, for people who do say that, and there is those people out there, I say that that's not really what this case is about. That's not really what the reason why I put out a call to action, seek support, is not because you do the crime, you do the time, or because I shouldn't be punished if I do a crime. It's because there are interpretations of the law that are being twisted in order to take away the civil rights of artists, and that's happening to me. There are corrupt police that go after artists and try to put artists in jail without any evidence. There are courts, prosecutors, and judges who throw the book at artists, and there's no reason for that. The interpretation of the law is overzealous. It's overly criminalizing individuals, and there's a fundamental violation of my civil rights that's happening. I'm also going out so that people can be educated and they can understand that just like it happened to me, somebody who's in the public eye, somebody who works within my community, somebody who's a publisher and a journalist, it can easily happen to them. So it's a warning call and a call for support so that we can combat this kind of activity.
Would you do anything differently?
Sure, I wouldn't have any archives in my possession. I mean, I do regret having any archives in my possession when, having any, photographs of things that the police might find funny is a dangerous thing. I never thought, honestly, that police could prosecute anybody for possession of a photograph of a piece of artwork done legally or illegally. I think that's pretty absurd. I didn't think that they could bend the law to that degree and that any judge in their right mind would even stand for it. I'm mistaken. It is now the case that even if you were to win a case, they will still drag you through the legal process, which can take months or years, cost you tens of thousands of dollars, and is a very dangerous thing to do if you don't have the financial resources to combat it. So I wouldn't necessarily be so bold as to want to have that stuff out there to risk my freedom.
What do you think could be the aggregate effect on graffiti artists in New York, America, and the world?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that can be gained. One, it could send a message that police need to, use proper investigation tactics and not fabricate evidence in order to gain, access to people's homes and search warrants. It could send a message that photographic or digital imagery does not prove a crime. Possession of a photograph of a piece of artwork does not prove that a crime was committed. It just proves that a photograph was taken or that a person possesses a photograph. Those are the two things that I think are critical. I think the possession of digital imagery and linking that to a crime when there's no image of a person actually committing the crime is huge. So if that goes well, if I were to beat the case, then that works for everybody. Cops can no longer use that particular tactic to gain a conviction or an arrest of a particular person, or a particular artist or artist.
So what are your thoughts on the extent to which it's used with a wink and a nod for big money in advertising, yet still criminalized?